Hi, welcome to Astrology and Earth Magic. I'm Jennifer, and I'm here to provide some astrological wisdom to a pretty big and I think really impactful full moon that's going to be coming up. That's in Sagittarius on the 11th of June, and this is at 20 degrees Sagittarius, 39 minutes, and it's approximately, if you're here in the New England East Coast, about 3:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, here's what the chart looks like. Now, I have this set at Aries rising, so don't pay attention to the houses. We'll not get into that because it's different for everybody. So when you think of Sagittarius, you think of fun-loving, ready to just get on to that new adventure. And they're, totally chill, easily adaptable to any new and just spontaneous situations, and they always seem to just fix themselves. They have this faith that can be in whatever they have that faith in, but they just know that things are going to work out. They just keep the faith, and usually it does end up working out. And there is, though, usually drama, because this is a fire sign. Don't forget, it's more of the fun fire sign, but it's kind of like a fun drama almost. These Sages, they can almost sink to rock bottom, and somehow they always just come back better than ever. Just, full of abundance, full of happiness, and things just seem to always just work out for them. And the abstract faith really, I think, carries them through whatever the drama might be. And it's a lot of times due to their unsettled nature. They're always on to the next and always on to the next, and not everybody's always like that. So some of that drama can be because of that, or because of they're just being unsettled in general, and that lust for that new adventure, that wanderlust is just something that is really big in a Sagittarius, that they're never settled, they're never just good with where they are. With a full moon, we have the polarity sign of the spiritual face based on, just the believer, in opposition to the sun in Gemini, and that is answer seeking, and that is hard fact-based answer seeking. And it's not just faith-based, they want to know the facts. So this is more of like scientists and things like that. So we have that polarity going on there, and this full moon is a culmination. It's a peak, things coming to a head like every full moon. On a personal level, you could be at a peak in soul searching. It could be a really journey of self-discovery. That could be an inward journey, and it could be just your higher learning. You could be culminating that, and look at what time of year this is falling, when a lot of colleges and even high schools are graduating, and so this is that culmination of that higher learning coming up. Also teaching, so going on to take what you've learned and teach others. And Sages like to not really be preachy, but be, they think they know, what the deal is. They like to tell everybody what the deal is, and, here's how it is. And it's because of that faith. It's because of that, that the inner belief system that they have. So, it could be your plans coming to fruition. This is also the time of year when we're making plans for vacations and travel. So, maybe you've been preparing to go on a long trip, maybe somewhere abroad, something like that. So this could be the personal culmination that we have, or just in the midst of a new adventure. So you could be ongoing, but you could be, at the high point now, ready to kind of, take with it what you benefited from. So, but in all seriousness, we do have a lot of negative with this. This is what I meant in the beginning when I said there was going to be, this was going to be, I think, a very impactful full moon. Even though it is a fun and chill sign, there's a lot going on around it that is adding adding to the drama. So this chart is chock full of squares. So we'll point them out as we go here on the chart, and really deeply impactful conjunctions that are adding to the squares, just making them that much more impactful. Just a word I can use. So personal, social, and outer planets all getting involved in this. So this is going to affect you on a personal level. This is going to affect us on a social level. So in just everyday society with the people we work with, the people that we interact with on an everyday basis, and then the outer planets, which is pretty much on a global scale. So, this is going to be kind of something that's going to kind of have its foot in every part of life a little bit. Sagittarius has a way, could be hitting rock bottom, but then bouncing back better than ever, and just because they keep the faith. And I think that faith is what keeps them strong. And now we've talked about in our last video of Jupiter going into Cancer. So Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and that also is that has that big faith, that big over the topness. Also, when we look at the past, if you watch that video, we see the past with Cancer, it was something traumatic happening and then coming back more united and better for it, which is always unfortunate a little bit. But so Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So, but in history, the comparison, just proves that there's a lot of trauma that comes with it. So we had, during that transit, we had 9/11. During that transit, the most recent, we had the Boston bombing. So we've had a lot of trauma that had to do with almost kind of even religious kind of things. And that's Jupiter, that's Sag too. So, so let's look at how the other planets are going to affect this full moon and make it maybe not such the fun-loving, easygoing Sag that we are so always happy with, especially this time of year. Things are getting warmer, we're getting outside, the sun is shining, we're getting close to midsummer or the summer solstice where the sun is at its peak. So just everything is just, growing and starting to just come out with abundance. Really a lot of that Jupiter energy just bringing things out and coming to a head, coming to a peak, just like with a full moon. But like I said, we do have a lot of squares and, not so positive things going on. So, we have Venus in a square to Pluto. So I wrote these down because I don't want to forget any, because there's a lot going on. So Venus is in a square with Pluto. So we find Venus here in Taurus is in its exaltation though. So she's in her exaltation in Taurus, and she's in a square with Pluto right up here. So we see the square, and that's 3 signs away. So it's a 90-degree angle, and that's an uncomfortable angle. So it's a 2-degree orb separating. So I'm going to talk about the orbs separating and applying. So an applying orb is when it's getting closer. So it's not at its peak. The separating orb was at its peak, but now it's kind of waning away from that. So this is kind of waning away from its peak. So with that, we had tensions running deep. We've seen that happening around the world. Sometimes it can be violent. It can be due to emotional turmoil. It can be issues with authority, being told what to do, how to act, and what your values should be. People don't like being told how they're supposed to act. This also we have leading to Mars squaring Uranus. So these are the personal planets with the outer planets. So these are both our personal planets. Now Mars, which we have here in Leo, squaring Uranus, which is at the end of Taurus, not quite having moved into, that'll be next month when it moves into Gemini. So we're still in Taurus. And so that square, with the square of already high tensions going on, is I think what's really going to bring a lot of it. Now this is an applying orb, so this is only going to get worse. So it's going to be this is still coming to a head, so it's not quite at its peak. So I think that we're going to feel this full moon and the effects for about the next week or so. It could be even starting, I would say, like this weekend and through till next weekend. So I would expect a lot of things going on because of this turmoil, because of this unsettledness. with Uranus in there and Mars being in square, something can just set off a trigger and an attack, an action, something erratic, something dangerous. This could be. This could cause conflict, and it could cause disruption, even large-scale trauma. Now, when I bring up that there could be some religious things going on here, we've already seen these attacks that are happening on Jews here in the United States, and it's just one after another, and I think it's been up to 3 now. And so you see that kind of attack on values, so attacks on somebody else's values, and which kind of goes along with what we're talking about here, and not listening to authority, not wanting to do what you're supposed to do, not following the laws, and just taking the law into your own hands and doing what you feel you're compelled to do. It's things that can hurt people, things that can cause a lot of trauma and stress for others, especially the family members of the people that have gotten hurt. So I would not be surprised if this continues to escalate. I really hope it doesn't, but I feel like it's just going to get worse as we come to the full moon. Something I feel is it's bound to happen as the full moon falls on this. It's squaring the north node and south node. So it's squaring the nodes, and called at the bindings. So when something is happening at the bindings, this is about an act now kind of placement. Like something is about to happen that is going to create a big change. So it's when you find out how people really are too. It's kind of like when you see things for what they really are. It's how society can react to the conflict, disturbance, no matter how big or small it might be. And it is going to be a defining moment in this evolution. And we know that we are currently going through this evolution with all these changes going on, all these outer planet changes. And this is going to be a defining moment in this evolution, I feel. And so many of these aspects that we're having, like I said, with these squares, they point towards tensions being raised. So Jupiter and Saturn are also square. So we have Jupiter here in Gemini, squaring Saturn in the first degrees of Aries here. It's kind of a widest square. It's a 2-degree, actually, let me see exactly what that was. It's with a 1-degree orb square. So the tensions from these force limitations. So it's you have the planet that wants to expand, that wants to make things bigger, that wants to get out and do things, and then being held back in that square by Saturn, who is keeping it. And especially in Aries, it's kind of like forcing that, like, no, you can't do these things. But then we have Jupiter in Gemini. It's like, I'm getting ideas, I want to do this, and my mind's going crazy. And here's where they want to just explode, they want to break out, they want to do something. This can be a good aspect, that these ideas can be really innovative because you are building the groundwork, where Jupiter is trying to do these things, but Saturn's holding it back because it needs to have a better foundation to build on. So it's kind of slowing it down a little bit. Either way, there is going to be some tension there because it wants to get going. It wants to break out. It wants to be free. Jupiter wants freedom. It doesn't want constraint, and Saturn wants to keep that control. So we will have some, difficulty being controlled. We will see that with, people not wanting that, wanting to just, so we might see protesting and it getting a little bit much and turning into riots. Hopefully not, because I know they had one of the things that happened in the Jewish community was the peaceful protest that ended up having the violence happen there, where a guy was, I guess, using like some kind of flamethrower and burning people. And these were old ladies that were just silently marching. And it's just, to me, it's just disgusting. So I don't know how people can do these things to other people, no matter what your religious beliefs, no matter what you believe. why are you hurting these innocent people? These aren't the people causing the war. These aren't the people that are doing bad things to anybody else. They just want peace. They want people to be free. They want these, you know, and then somebody comes and burns them. Like, it's horrible to think about. But these are the things that we could see. We saw this with the with 9/11. We saw this with the Boston bombing, where it's just people just acting out without care of other people, and these innocent people that are being hurt, that, you know, really isn't going to prove anything. It's not going after the authority that they're kind of against. They're against, you know, the people that are in charge, but they're taking it out on, you know, people that have nothing to do with it. They're these innocent people. So we can also see structures collapsing. So, and things, when things get out of control, we could see these structures collapsing. The chart has a lot of water and earth and fire. And we already see, I don't know if you guys can tell, but not bad today, but we do have the smoke from the Canadian wildfires here. We are seeing the effects of that. Some people are having some congestion issues. I don't know if it's allergies or what's going on, but you can feel it. You can feel it into your head, and that tension from those wildfires. So that is that fire that's in this chart. Also, you know, it could cause, you know, things to happen, mudslides, you know, if, you know, the water is made bigger by Jupiter, just expanding it, and Saturn like kind of holding it there, it could cause structures to break, you know, walls to fall down, like walls as in could be like a wall holding a road up and the road washes away. We've seen stuff like that happen during transit similar to this. Or hopefully, I pray that it's not, but another terrorist attack. We do have, like I said, we've had the terrorist attacks on the past couple transits. With this full moon, with so much going on, and full moons just causing, you know, that kind of, you know, craziness. Hopefully that won't happen. But you just want to be aware of your surroundings, know where your exits are. I know I say this in videos, something that I don't always do. My husband's great at it, so I usually just kind of fall to him for that, to find it. But you want to be aware. Now, if you're going to parades, if you're going to barbecues out, you know, things like that, you're going to want to just be aware of what's going on around you, especially if this is religious based. If you're, you know, in fear of religion or something, you know, like that, or you know, Jewish, I hope those, you know, peaceful protesters that are Jewish, nothing else bad happens to them, or even, you know, you just don't know. And it's, I don't know, it's awful. But we already have a lot of this religious tension going on, and this is with people that aren't either religion. They're just getting involved. Sometimes, you know, you just have to kind of stop. You have to, like, okay, you know, what am I exactly protesting? What am I protesting that is going to actually make a difference here in the United States when this is happening in a whole nother country? I know people are trying because they want to have peace, but still, okay, enough of my preaching. Anyway, that's that Jupiter getting in there, that Sagittarius wanting to be preachy. But it is people acting out against each other just because they're different, and we're seeing that right here in the US. Jupiter is also square to Neptune. This is a 2-degree applying aspect. So again, this is building. And of course, also Neptune is in conjunction with Saturn. That's a 1-degree aspect. So it's impatience. Neptune doesn't want limitations as well. Or boundaries. So they're both, you know, so can be overly fantastical, like with these ideas, and think like this is going to be the greatest thing in the world, and this could be positive or negative, and it could just be too much. And, you know, like I say, overly fantastical, thinking things, you know, and this is again bigger, something bigger that could happen with that, you know, Saturn Neptune conjunction too. You just worry about people just being overly fantastical. That's all I can say. So, and it's like, don't stop me. Don't put rules on me. Don't put laws on me. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that as well. So Saturn in a 3-degree, Saturn and Neptune are both squaring Mercury. And this is about a 3-degree orb, and that's separating. So it's moving away from. So I think with this, it's going to be a lot due to information. And if you do watch the news, information comes out and one saying one thing and one saying the other thing, and everything is just throwing like oil on that fire. So it's just like that water, that Neptune throwing oil on that fire. So, and that's in Aries. So it pretty much, you can see it's just stirring the pot. It's just getting people stirred up, and it's just making it bigger, making it worse, because you don't know what to believe half the time. And then when you do believe something comes out that, oh, well, this was totally wrong, and this is what was actually happening. So expect news with communications, with, news that can set and trigger people. So Jupiter will be conjunct Mercury, so because Saturn, Neptune are in a square, so obviously Jupiter will be conjunct. So we have them here. We have a lot going on just in this little general area. Everything's really tight right here. I have my Mercury way over here, but it shouldn't be way back there. So what is real and what isn't? So that is about a lot of confusion. People just not being sure what's real and what's not, and and not knowing what's really happening and what's really going on, because they're only hearing one side of it. This can be something that will challenge maybe your belief system, something that could open your minds also. So you could see something that you don't agree with, that could have been something that you might have agreed with, and then once you see it, it's like, okay, that isn't what I was thinking, but now it seems to make sense. So I know this whole video is very doom and gloom, but as I was researching this chart, it just kind of just gave me a sinking feeling, and I just really hope that everything I said is not going to happen, and it's just the fun-loving Sagittarius full moon, and everyone's having fun, and it's sunny, like, come on, sun, stay out, and we have nice, bonfires, getting ready for the solstice, and we all have a great time. Hopefully that is the way this all comes out. So we're going to keep the faith on that one, and that's whatever faith you want, but just feel positive, think positive, exude positivity, and that's what will come back to you. So again, be aware of your surroundings. Like I always say, history can also show that, those collapsing structures might just be barriers. So the Saturn-Neptune conjunction back in '89 was during the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was a positive because it was uniting. So also what I said about in the last video, I'm going to attach it to the end, so or link it. So if you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. Things happen, these things that happen in history that were traumatizing, that disrupted the country, that just brought us to a halt. People united, and it made us stronger. And that's what I mean about the walls falling down. So the structures that could be falling down could be our walls coming down, and we're not gonna just not like somebody else because they're in a different political affiliation than we are, or a different religion than what we are, because what does that really matter? Ultimately, we're all people. We all need love. We all need food, water, sunshine, and we all just need that, the good things in life. We don't need the negative things in life just because of what we believe. So you want to keep the faith, but you also want to keep an open mind of others and what they're going through. So, and also during the fall of the Berlin Wall, in my last video I said it as well, Jupiter is transiting through Cancer. So something that might have to do with like walls falling down, barriers falling down, walls breaking down, but it could be in a literal or a figurative kind of way. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction is sextile to Pluto and sextile to Uranus. So have them here, and then we have Pluto and we have Uranus. So this is ultimately all the outer planets telling us, okay, we're sextile, we're working together here, and things are going to be rough, but it's going to work out in the end. So again, you want to keep that faith, because things are going to ultimately work out. And I think the world is going to be a better place. We might go through some traumas like we have been going through. It might get a little bit worse before it gets better. But I think ultimately this is going to unite us, and it's going to bring us together as a human race. Bring us together in our communities, because remember, this is all the personal planets are involved, the social planets, and the outer planets. So everything's going to kind of be feeling this. You could be having problems in your relationship, tensions in your relationship, feeling restrictions in your relationships. And then, once you get through it, maybe a huge blow up fight, and then you get through it, and then you guys are just back in love again. That could happen with your friends, same thing. So on a personal level, you can see how it might be showing a little bit different, not quite so over the top, but I just had to put it out there that these things could happen. So just to be aware of it. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Also, please subscribe. We got lots of fun coming up. We're gonna have a part 2 or a second in our travel, because the last one turned out so bad. This chart's looking a lot better, so let's hope for that. We're gonna go through that chart. We also have the new moon coming up. We have midsummer coming up. Letha, if you practice any Wicca, do all the sabbats on the Wiccan wheel, we have the video on that coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope that you stick with. So again, subscribe, let's grow together, and hit the notification bell so you get notified of all these. And please comment, let me know if you think I'm too over the top. Then let me know. I know I can be a lot of doom and gloom. I do have Saturn ruling my first house, so that's kind of how I think. I always think the worst before, if I don't hear from you, I think you're dead. So I always think the worst. So bear with me, but we do have some positivity coming too. So let me know what you guys think, and I hope to see y'all soon. Bye.